Hey everyone, welcome back after spring break. It is now week 9. That means we are more than halfway through the semester. We're starting the second half. As the title suggests, this is our last week of practice before we shift gears and start officially working on AMS 2. This week, there's nothing brand new for you. You have 2 forums to do, and you have some synthesis paragraphs to do. These readings that you have to do are not as complex and tough as some of the earlier readings. However, they are long. So there's a trade-off there. Rose, I'm giving you a choice here. I say read the shorter one or read the longer one. I'd prefer you read them both. That'd really help you. But it's up to you. You get to call. You make these calls. How much you challenge yourself, what you claim, that's up to you. But if you read the longer one, starting on page 100 of the Roses, he has a lot of examples that are great for synthesis. Just saying. You need synthesis in your papers. He gives examples of students. Too much confidence. Don't ask enough questions. How much student-teacher helps. He gives you a lot of examples. So he could be worth reading even though it's long. It's up to you. Leemanson, there are 2 chapters from his book in there. One of them is about the biological basis of learning, which is a different. He says we have to practice things. He says that we have to make new neural connections in our brain to actually learn, that it takes effort to do that, and it takes practice. And breaking old connections, changing old frames of reference, is hard. So he looks at it a different way than, say, Mezirow does for why we don't change habits. But he's worth looking at, even though it's long. All right, it's up to you. I have a whole lot of optional resources here. I would look at this sample synthesis 3 paragraphs. It's from one of your classmates. I asked permission to use it. It's wonderful. I have all of these extra readings that might be interesting to you. I know I'm giving you long readings, so if you're wondering if they would help you, go ahead, send me an email. I can tell you some more about them. That's up to you. Or send me a text, whichever way works best for you. Okay, synthesis paragraphs this week. It's our last set of synthesis paragraphs. The reason we're practicing these over and over and over again is because we write synthesis papers. And we need to be able to put 2 sources together in the same paragraph and not just talk about how they're alike, but have to point out the nitty-gritty differences between them as well. This week, you only need one. You have to have 2 paragraphs. Only one of them has to have 2 sources in it. I'm doing this because I've told you before that you could use these paragraphs in your next paper if you wanted. In order to do that, you would need to problematize and pick your topic. Some of you have gotten a hold of me and done that. I have a video on that problematizing, an example of how it looks in week 8. I have an example in week 10. A problematizing video and a paper to help, or a Google Doc to help you see how that looks. They go together. I use this Google Doc in this video. In order to use the paragraphs for this assignment in your paper, you need to problematize an idea first. So I'm just trying to help you out, so it'll be easier later. You don't have to do it. You can write them on anything you want. But to make it very useful and something you could actually use in your paper, I've told some of you, please do not do 2, 2, 2, 2. For every paragraph looks identical and like a formula. So I've asked you before, please try a threesome or a foursome if you can pull it off. And sometimes you'll only have one source. So for synthesis 4 paragraphs, you have to have at least one paragraph with 2 sources, or 3. It has to have at least 2. 2 or 3, 4, I don't know. And the other one could have only one source if you wanted it. But the importance is, in that one paragraph where you have 2 sources, you have to talk about how they disagree with each other. All right. Both of these sources actually give you ways that people disagree. And we can talk about that more if you want to get a hold of me. But this week, 2 long readings, 2 forums, some synthesis paragraphs, some extra stuff to read if you have the time or have the desire. And although I know it's extra work to check out the problematizing videos and to do the problematizing now, it'll save you a lot of time later if you have half of those paragraphs written or all of those paragraphs written because you went ahead and did it ahead of time. Your call. It's about using the time either this week or next week. Either getting half the work done now or having to start fresh next week. Up to you. Your call. I am here all the time, available on my phone, text, don't call, or via email. Love to hear from you. Enjoyed reading. Some of you sent me synthesis 3 paragraphs ahead of time. Yay! I'd be very happy to look at synthesis 4 paragraphs ahead of time too, and I definitely want to be problematizing with you. Want to help you. I do. Okay, get a hold of me. Sorry I talked so fast.